Welcome inside, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mission Ready. Prepare your mind and body for the battlefield of life. My name is Derek Johnson. I'm a U.S. Army veteran turned life coach. And in this podcast episode today, we're going to talk about how to escape a narcissist control and 5 steps to take your power back. 5 steps to take your power back from a freaking narcissist. All right, let's jump into it. Number 1, recognize the signs of narcissistic control. Those things include gaslighting, love bombing, blame shifting, isolation, emotional manipulation, how they subtly wear down your sense of self over time. Meaning you start to lose yourself around these people because they get into your head so much doing reverse psychology. So here's an example. Number 1 is that you got to realize that they're the most insecure person in the room and they love to make you doubt yourself. Why is that? Because they see your potential. They know that you don't need them. I repeat, they know that you don't need them. Maybe you're struggling right now. Maybe you live with them. Dating, family, friends, coworker. They like when you're insecure. They like when you're timid, when you're stressed, going through depression. They love those things. Why is that? Because they know that you're going to go further in your career and life than they will. So you've heard the crabs in a barrel mentality, the crabs in a bucket. They aim to pull you back down. So you have to recognize the signs by being aware of these things. Let's say that you're on your fitness journey. And every time you're around this individual, they make a joke about you tracking your food. Oh, she's drinking her water again. Oh, look at you eating another salad with chicken. These jokes become annoying. They're showing you who they are. That's one of the most common signs. When you're doing any self-improvement and they start to make jokes, they're insecure. So let's pretend life is a video game and they know and knew you at level 7 and you've elevated your physicality, your finances. You have a loving relationship, a stronger relationship with God. You've gotten a raise or promotion. They realize that there's a separation between themselves and you. When a narcissist feels that gap, they aim to pull you back down to remind you who you are. But that's actually not true. Meaning, whatever they say to you is not true. They just know how to get into your head. They use manipulation. They use gaslighting. And they will use your personal experiences in ways that they've helped you to dangle it over your head. Remember when I helped you? I'll remember 5 years ago when you needed somebody who was there for you. They try to make you feel bad. So since you're evolving and they feel the separation, their whole intent is to bring you back down. And all it is a past way of thinking. Whether it's an age, whether it's before you got the raise or promotion or before you left that narcissistic relationship. Narcissists don't just have to be people that you're dating. This could be anyone that you're physically around or they have access to you in your phone. You might have to work with these people. They might be a customer or client. They might be an old friend that somehow still has attached themselves to you. Being aware of these things is one of the most powerful things that you could do. Another example is going to be blame shifting. They shift the blame to always make it about you. It's because of you. Because of you, they are the way that they are. And when somebody says a lie so much, you tend to believe it. It's just like propaganda in the media. They push narratives and lies to cause separation, stress, anxiety, and fear. When you repeat a lie so often, the majority of the public will start to believe this. It's no difference between a narcissist. They will say that lie so much that they get immersed in it, that their body language looks like they're telling the truth. And you start to question yourself. Another one is isolation. You isolate yourself from the people that you love because they make you feel that you are not worthy. You feel worse about yourselves. Do I deserve this good friendship? Should I go out to this concert? Whoever you're with, the narcissist, they try to make you feel bad. So they want that mental manipulation, emotional manipulation, love bombing, gaslighting. Love bombing is another popular one. That is when you meet somebody and they say all the right things, but eventually you start to feel that something is off. You can see it in their eyes. You can sense it via text message. They're just too nice. And it feels like it's too good to be true. I'm not saying that from a pessimistic standpoint as in, oh, this person's going to screw me over. No, you can feel it. So there's a difference. Some people, they meet somebody kind, they meet somebody positive, and they think it's too good to be true, even though there's no negative sign. That's not what I mean. That all goes to past patterns of dating or family. But in this regard, you can feel it, sense it, or maybe you have physical evidence and proof and something tangible that shows you something is off. Let's go forward to number 2. Number 2 is to rebuild your inner compass. Trust your gut again. Rebuild your inner compass. Trust your gut again. You have to be aware that you started to lose yourself in that relationship or that friendship dynamic. You started to listen to them, meaning they became your gut. They became your conscience. You feel like you always have to ask them for validation, advice. Should I do this? Should I do that? Because you started to lose the trust within yourself and you've become codependent on the person. But keep in mind, this is not who you always were. You've just became this way because of a pattern, because you've allowed this person to drag you along, manipulate you, use, abuse, whether that's financial, whether that's physically, whatever your dynamic is, but you have to be aware of that. So you need to rebuild your inner compass. And how you do that, you need to have ways to reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your intuition. You can do that via journaling and writing, breath work, self-reflection. There's a thing I do with my clients called perspective hopping, meaning you have a current, present version of you. You think of your younger version, and then you think of your version 10.0. That is your best version of yourself in the future. Get crystal clear on who is he, who is she, that version 10.0. Now look at your current self. Current self should pat themselves on the back because your younger version would be proud of current you. Why is that? Because you were this close to quitting. So doing some things like this, writing it down, it has power and it makes you more aware of who you are. And honestly, you remind yourself of who the fuck you are. Because some of you have lost yourself because you've been around these toxic people. Look in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and get to the point where you can tell your reflection in your eyes, I love you, I'm proud of you. A lot of you, you've avoided your reflection. You look in the mirror only when you're brushing your teeth or doing your hair. Besides that, you kind of have your chin down. You don't like to look at yourself because you're very aware that you've lost yourself in the relationship or the friend dynamic. So you have to rebuild that inner compass. Another thing that you can do is work out harder and more consistent. When you show up for yourself more often, you elevate your self-respect, your self-power, your self-control, your willpower, and your overall self-confidence. So when you're around these narcissists, you've given up your power to that individual. So number 1 was recognize the signs of narcissistic control. Number 2, rebuild your inner compass so you can trust your gut again. Number 3, set boundaries without guilt. Without guilt. We hear about setting boundaries all the time, but the reason a lot of people don't do it is because they feel guilty. Well, I don't want him to think that I don't want to hang out with them. I don't want them to feel like I don't want to go to the birthday dinner. You got to stop explaining yourself to people. You don't owe anybody anything. No explanation. When you say no to things that you don't want to do, you are saying yes to yourself. Hear me out. When you say no to things or people that you don't want to do anything with, you're saying yes to yourself. Some of you say no, and then you jump right back to try to over-explain yourself. The narcissist uses reverse psychology on you, and next thing you know, they're pulling your ass back in, and you go to the birthday dinner. And then you leave the dinner feeling like shit because you let yourself down. You said no, you got pulled in, they made you feel bad, and then you start a whirlwind of thoughts. Am I enough? Do I deserve this? Am I the fuck up? Blah, blah, blah. And it's a negative ripple effect. Most of you have been there. So be aware of this, is set boundaries without guilt. Boundaries are so important because it's more about self-respect. Not boundaries because of them, but boundaries because of you and the way that you respect yourself. So essentially, you are raising your standards. Another thing that you could do when setting boundaries is having certain statements that you say to yourself. I don't allow myself to do this. Oh, I'm noticing a sign. I'm not putting up with this mess. You have to snap yourself out of it before the pattern starts. Because when you're in it, you don't realize what's happening. If you've ever been in a shitty relationship, when you get out, you look back and say, damn, who allowed that? Why did I allow that? So there's a saying that goes, you get what you tolerate. Shout out to Tony Robbins. You get what you tolerate. So you got to ask yourself, what have you been tolerating about yourself? What have you been tolerating about others? And what should you do? And what will you do to raise your standards? So that way you keep those boundaries because you respect yourself enough. Number 4, detach emotionally and logistically. Detach emotionally and logistically. So what you can do with that, there's a thing called the gray rock method. There's also no contact or no long contact. So the gray rock method is essentially that You got to stay away from the gray areas. Up in the air. Where do we stand in this friendship? Oh, ha ha ha. Everything is up in the air. When you ask this person a question, they never actually answer it. They speak in circles to the point they make you confused. They stress you out. They make you feel bad. So there's a lot of gray areas. So what I mean by the gray rock method is a lot of you are holding a bunch of rocks from the people in your life and everything is in a gray zone. It's up in the air. You need to get back to reality and back to being black and white. It's right or wrong. It's yin and yang. It's up or down. It's yes or no. All this in between has everything floating above you. Maybe, probably, hopefully, we'll see, we'll think about it. If we get around to it, things like that. Stop using those words. Stop typing those words. Stop speaking those words. Stop thinking these words. Because these phrases, words, and statements will make you feel attached to this individual. And the way to detach is to stop using these things. Another thing that you can do is if you're living with them, you have to have separate bank accounts. Now, I understand that some people are in a very abusive, physically and violent abusive. So please take that with precaution. But if you are able to have your own financial account, you have to have the finances separate. Also, support system. Do you have positive individuals, loving individuals, faith-driven individuals that could be your support system? If you don't feel bad. You have God. If you don't have a solid support system, you still have God. Also, you could look at an exit plan. What is your exit plan? What I recommend to some of my clients is that they give themselves. I'm not here to tell you when your escape plan is, as in what date, but you have to decide, when is my deadline for me to get the hell out of here? When is my deadline for me to stop dealing with this fucking bullshit? What is my deadline for myself? Today, while I'm recording it, we're in mid-April 2025. So let's just say that by mid-May, you have your exit plan. You're like, I will be out of here by this date, out of this relationship, out of this home, this apartment, this condo, this narcissistic work environment. You have to set a deadline for yourself. Because once you have a concrete date for yourself, you take it more serious and it's not up in the air. Because we tend to push things off. I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. And you never actually get around to it. And you become that person that allows everybody to step and walk all over them. I don't want that for you. And I know deep down you don't want that for yourself. So again, number 4, you have to detach emotionally and logistically. You can't just do one or the other. You have to do both. If you detach emotionally, awesome. But if you don't have an exit plan, you still live in that place. I don't care how much inner work you do. You will only get so far if you live with that narcissist. This could be a family member, your roommate, your spouse. Hear me out. You cannot get to the next level in your personal development journey if you live with these people. You will always feel in an emotional, mental box, and you will have an emotional loop pattern that always sucks you back. You feel on a high for 2 days, you feel like shit for 3 days. You feel on a high for 5 days, you feel like shit for 7 days. It's that fucking roller coaster because this person loves to do that to you. They don't have control of their life, so they want to control you, and they know your potential and how far you can go. Crabs in a barrel mentality. You start to evolve, they don't like it, boom, they pull you back down and they fucking latch onto you. So you have to emotionally detach and then logistically detach by having an exit plan. Number 5, last but not least, reclaim your identity and confidence. Reclaim your identity and confidence. How do you do that? You have to realize that you have to allow yourself to go through the healing process. You got to reclaim your passion, your hobbies, your voice, your power, your discipline, your faith, your consistency. What actually made you you? Why do people gravitate towards you? You're confident. You were organized. You were all these other positive attributes and positive characteristics and traits. That's why people gravitate towards you. But the more that you allow yourself to be around this narcissist, you start to slowly lose those attributes and traits. And people sense it and you wonder, why isn't nobody checking on me? People used to gravitate towards me and open up. I used to get raises, promotions, used to close more sales, close more deals. All those things start to slip. And it's not necessarily your fault because when you're in it, you're unaware. So I'm just here to remind you to realize the greatness that is within you, and it is still within you. No matter how low you feel right now, how annoyed or freaking pissed off you're in the situation right now, you still have greatness within you. So you have to reclaim your identity, your confidence, and take your power back. Also realizing the importance of community, coaching, mentorship, therapists. You could talk to the church. If you're religious, speak to somebody. Because when you hold it all in, you're going to start to mask it, or you might suppress it. But one day it's going to bottle and that stuff is going to come out. Everything that you bottle will come out in your next relationship, in your next career, your next friendship, or when you're out in public and you lash out at somebody because you have an irrational reaction, living in a reactive state of fight or flight. A lot of you are in that mode of fight or flight. It's cortisol is high, the stress hormone. So let's do a quick recap. Number one, you have to recognize the signs of narcissistic control. That consists of gaslighting, love bombing, blame shifting, isolation, emotional manipulation. That's how they slowly wear you down. Narcissists are intelligent. They don't really help people, but they know how to hold people back and break them down. Because remember, they are the weakest and most insecure in the room, not you. They want you to feel that way. That's why they need some fake sense of power and control. Number two, rebuild your inner compass. You have to trust your gut again, your conscience. They're not your conscience. You have it. You got to get reconnected with it. Number three, set boundaries without guilt. Stop explaining yourself. Stop feeling bad for having boundaries. You respect yourself enough. You are not doing the wrong thing. Whatever you do that leads you to more mental peace is the right decision. Whatever you do that leads you to more mental peace is the right decision. Number four, you need to detach emotionally and logistically. Get detached emotionally by reclaiming your power within yourself, getting back into your routine. And logistically, you'll be in a better headspace to have an exit plan, have a game plan. I need to get out of this dynamic, friend, working, relationship, whatever that space is that you're currently in. And number five, reclaim your identity and confidence. You lost your passion, you lost your voice, you lost your power. You have to get back to the basis. Now, if you need professional help, reach out to individuals. If you need some support, reach out to somebody in your community. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you can go to fitwithderek.com. You can fill out the application. I'll shoot you a text message and we'll talk about what we can do to get you to that next level and truly get your power back. Because everything you're doing is just patterns. Everything is patterns. Something happens and we get sucked back into an old pattern. Once you break those patterns, you can go from just surviving to thriving, and you don't feel like you're always hitting a mental wall or a wall in your career, in your friendship, or within yourself. I appreciate you listening. My name is Derek Johnson. My whole intent with this podcast is to empower you. I call this Mission Ready so you can prepare your mind and body for the battlefield of life. If this helped you, subscribe to the channel, like it on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate you being here, and let me know what topics you want to hear in the future. Today, I had to bring the fire. I had to bring the energy because I know somebody needs it. So listen to this over and over. How to escape a narcissist control. 5 steps to take your power back. Thanks for being here. Stay strong, stay focused, drink your water, and don't take anybody's shit. See you next time. Let's get it.